Anyone in the UK will tell you, full stop, universal credit and our benefit system is an absolute mess, a complete, absolute, utter, shambolic mess that for the people that get trapped in this system, it can be a nightmare and sometimes have to make literal decisions. Do they eat or do they eat their homes, heat their homes, or do they prioritize their children eating? Again, these are unfortunate situations which this system has indeed created. Now, a lot of people are going to turn around and say, oh, but Paul Hatman, Labour were the ones who came up with universal credit. And I'm like, yes, you are right. Labour did originally come up with the idea of universal credit to, at that time, try and simplify the absolute labyrinthian system that was the benefit system. Because honestly, even though universal credit may be absolutely god awful, it was at least a step in the right direction to go to try and simplify the benefits system. However, the big problem, of course, came in that this was done towards the end of, at least, shall we say, the Gordon Brown, shall we say, premiership. And of course, at the time, the pensions and social office, I can't remember who was the guy in charge of it back then, basically went, look, we're doing these trials of universal credit. We are noticing some very, very big, not massive problems, but we are seeing problems, and we need to learn to solve these problems. But we've got a general election coming up, so we're not going to tamper with them yet. And of course, what happens? Coalition government comes in. William Hague takes over from the Conservatives. William Hague ignores, not William Hague, Ian Duncan Smith, sorry, I'm getting my Conservatives confused then. Ian Duncan Smith comes in, ignores all the problems that the civil servants are bringing to them, saying that these are problems here, how are we going to solve this? And literally, you got towns and cities and areas. One part had universal credit, the other part of the old system in, and literally, as soon as you brought in universal credit, poverty and food bank usage would skyrocket. And of course, the systems the flaws in the system were never corrected. They were never, made better. They've only gotten worse with time. And indeed, it has been used as a massive opportunity by the Conservatives to really hammer down on those people getting benefits, even though they need benefits. We are now seeing at this moment in time Conservatives who consistently voted for cuts to this very system are now turning around and saying, actually, we don't want to take away this extra money that we've been giving to people now. And then it raises to other concerns, because if you do agree to that, then how about all those other cuts and all those other things that you did to the system, which have made these people's lives on these that have to rely on this system so they don't fall into abject poverty much better? So it is with great pleasure today that I get to talk about some more Labour policies. And almost certainly, and a direct good thing for Labour would be to try and, again, as said here, a shake-up of the universal credit system. And I think it's been a long time coming. But I do think that Labour do indeed have an answer, which is better than the Conservative one, which is essentially just leave it as it is and do nothing. Because, again, they've got no plans to solve it. So before we do jump into this article, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And also down below, there are links to my Patreon page, as well as one donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, as you can see here, title is Labour pledge to shake up universal credit as part of a wider New Deal. And that will be, I think, very important. Hopefully, I have hope that New Deal might be quite good. We'll have to wait and see. So, Labour will promise on Monday to overhaul the universal credit system by allowing low-income workers to earn more without seeing their welfare payments cut, in a move potentially costing billions of pounds annually. The Shadow Work and Pension Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, is expected to promise to, quote, make work pay as part of a wider strategy to create jobs you can raise your family on. Yes, yes, yes. Those are the right noises and the right things to say. Those are slogans right there. Jobs you can raise your family on. That right there is a fantastic slogan. The pledge is the first element of what is expected to be a very significant overhaul of the wider work and social security system, including universal credit benefit currently claimed by about 6 million people as part of a, quote, New Deal for working people. The party will also step up calls for the reiteration of the £20 a week uplift to universal credit, introduced in April last year as a response to the COVID crisis. The government intends to remove the uplift in October, leaving claimants £1,000 a year worse off. Reynolds is to propose a reduction in the universal credit taper rate as well, currently set at 63%. This means that for every pound above the claimant's work allowance, 63 pence is deducted automatically from their monthly universal credit payment. In practice, tax and national insurance further increase the amount deducted. Reynolds is expected to say in a speech in Manchester later today that I am pledging today that the next Labour government will reduce the taper rate when we replace universal credit, improving our social security system and allow people to have jobs you can raise your family on is part of our New Deal for working people. And according to Labour, the current system means that a single working parent on about £30,000 a week on the national living wage loses over £573 a month of their universal credit entitlement, equivalent to the marginal tax rate of over 75%. In contrast this with the 47% marginal tax rate faced by people earning over £150,000 a year, such as the Prime Minister. Labour has said the scale is proposed reduction. The taper rate would be announced as part of its wider tax and spending plans. The bill of cost could be very substantial, with some estimates suggesting that every percentage point in reduction, the taper would cost at least £350 million. Although it is refusing for now to say how much it will actually cost to reduce the taper rate, Labour believes this measure will radically boost the incentive for many people on low incomes to move into work or to work more hours, and allowing them to keep more money the more they earn and contribute more to the economy as well. It is also seen as one of the number of Labour measures that Labour believe will help them win more votes for low incomes, including increasing minimum wage to £10 an hour and introducing universal sick pay, increasing protection against unfair dismissal, and the right to flexible working for all. Labour believes that cutting the taper rate is vital to tackling the in-work poverty and growing cost of living crisis now faced by low-income families, and benefits are reduced and food and energy costs rise in price. About 13% of workers have incomes below the poverty line, although this raises to 23% in some sectors, such as the food industry. The organic model for universal credit, championed by the Conservative former Work and Pension Minister Ian Duncan-Smith, set the taper rate at 55%. However, the rate adopted again by the coalition government was set at 65, later reduced to 63 back in 2016. The Labour Party has long pledged to replace universal credit at the 2019 general election, saying that it would ultimately scrap the inhumane and cruel system as part of a £3 billion overhaul of social security, although it is likely it will actually keep the system's basic digital architecture and instead aim to make it more generous and less punitive and bureaucratic. So definitely a step in the right direction. Like I say, we'll have to see how this full speech goes. But steps in the right direction. Things are now starting to move. There is now policy proposals now being put forward, stuff that we can now talk about. I agree with this. Universal credit does need to be tackled. I think, again, easing up on the taper rate so that poor people have not only more money to spend, but then can get back into work, want to take on more hours then because they're not going to lose the universal credit more, which then can again put them into, bizarre working cycles, as you saw there. 13%, and in some industries 23% are literally in working poverty. That is not something we want in this country. That should be 0% across the board. But anyway, it's a good start. Hopefully we will start to see more of these things rolled out. And again, like I say, we will indeed comment on them. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page. And of course, a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.